Monday. John Lorden here with another episode of Brain Scratch, Case Cracked. We have another big thank you we have to give to Christy Arnhart. And let me just say, hasn't she been doing wonderful with the work on these cases? I really needed her help so I could step up and take on some other projects. And boy, she's been coming through. We've got another one by Christy today. This is a case I like to call the Jenner Beach Murders. Jenner, California is a small, sleepy town of just over 100 people that sits on the Pacific coast near the mouth of the Russian River. Many people each year come to the area to camp and unwind from their busy lives. Although the area is safe, full of campsites and beaches to enjoy, occasionally the Sonoma County Sheriff's Department would be called to help campers and beachgoers out of odd situations. On August 18, 2004, they received a call that a hiker had fallen and was stuck on a cliff near Fish Head Beach, and it would take a helicopter to rescue him. As the rescue team worked to bring the man up from the cliff to the helicopter, they were surprised to see a small campsite set up on the beach below, because camping was not allowed on that specific beach. Officers were sent to ask them to move along to another marked campsite, but when officers arrived, the campers weren't moving. The young man and young woman were dead. Both had been shot. It didn't take long for investigators to figure out that the couple was Jason Allen of Michigan and Lindsay Cutshall of Ohio. They were in California working as river guides and counselors for a religious camp in El Dorado County called Rock and Water. With the summer coming to an end, they decided to take off for a few days and see the coast before their wedding, which was only a few months away. From credit card records, investigators pieced together that the couple had been visiting tourist sites down the coast. They went to the Golden Gate Bridge and Fisherman's Wharf. Their car had been spotted in Sebastopol and Guerneville, where they decided to stop for the night. On August 14th, Jason and Lindsay tried to get a room at a local motel, but unfortunately, there were no vacancies. With nothing but abundant beaches and camping gear sitting in the back of their vehicle, they decided they could sleep on the beach for a single night. After setting up their campsite on Fish Head Beach, the couple left their red Ford Tempo in a pullout along Highway 1. Jason even wrote an entry in the visitor's log kept near the beach. "As I stir this mac and cheese, I think to myself, what a wonderful life," he wrote. Sometime during the night, either late Saturday or early Sunday morning, someone approached the couple as they slept. He shot them both in the head and then disappeared. Investigators were left with very few clues. There was no evidence of any kind of assault outside of the shooting. Lindsay was still wearing all of her jewelry, so robbery didn't appear to be a motive, and their Ford Tempo was exactly where the couple had left it. There was one odd aspect to their murder, and that was the murder weapon itself. Ballistics showed that the murder weapon was a .45 caliber Marlin Model 1894 hunting rifle. Although this type of rifle is popular with ranchers, it was considered unusual for the area, which prompted police to check door to door in the community looking for it. One person they wanted to talk to was a man named Sean Michael Gallen. Gallen had long been on law enforcement's radar. He was known for his erratic behavior and lengthy rap sheet, and also self-identified as a survivalist. He was partly homeschooled and never finished high school. He lived with family that appeared to isolate themselves from others. 1 week after Jason and Lindsay were murdered, deputies were called to a beach near Guerneville. Several people complained about a man acting strange. When the deputies arrived, they found Gallen wandering around, wearing a camouflage jumpsuit, and he had a loaded, stolen gun in his pocket. Deputies arrested Gallen for the stolen firearm that was found on him. While in jail, Gallen made a call to his father, David. Sean wanted his father to get rid of all of his guns. When the sheriff's department asked his father about this, he admitted to investigators that he did get rid of his son's guns after that phone call because he feared that his son wasn't stable. So he tossed his guns in a pond locally known as Corbell Hole. A dive team searched the pond waters, but found nothing. Later, he would admit that he lied about the location. Unfortunately, investigators would never recover any of his firearms. Under questioning, Gallon denied any involvement in the Jenner Beach murders. He initially agreed to take a polygraph test, but would later decline, never taking the test. This would lead to a dead end, and every other lead that investigators followed would take them nowhere. Over the years, the double homicide became national news and was featured on cold case shows and placed on lists detailing mysterious unsolved crimes. But with few leads and no witnesses, it seemed like the case would never be cracked. It would be 13 years before investigators were given everything they needed to solve the case. On March 24, 2017, Sonoma County officers responded to a 911 call from nearby Forestville. When they arrived on the scene, they found a man named Seamus Gallon dead from gunshot wounds inside the home he and his brother, Sean Gallon, shared with their mother. Sean had shot and killed his younger brother with an AR-15 rifle because he said his brother held a grudge stemming from a childhood conflict where Sean had punched Seamus. If Seamus would have just gotten over it, this never would have happened, Sean would say. In 2004, Father David Gallon sought the help of a social worker because he was concerned that Sean would harm his brother Seamus. But Gallon's mother, Susan, wouldn't allow the social worker inside the home. The social worker tried to meet with Gallon elsewhere and stopped by their home on occasion to offer help. After these short visits, she would note that Gallon acted bizarrely and had very poor hygiene and living conditions. While in custody for the murder of his brother, Gallon would offer several confessions that would stun both law enforcement and the local community. In May of 2004, he was involved in a late-night shooting near Cottingtown Mall. He told investigators he thought a gangbanger was following him around in another car, so he pulled up next to the vehicle and attempted to race it before opening fire with a submachine gun. In his explanation for the shooting, Gallon told detectives that he felt like, quote, Mexicans were at war with me. In June of 2004, just 2 months before the murder of Jason and Lindsay, he also tried to kill another man by planting a bomb on his car. Gallon fashioned an explosive out of an old grenade and put it in a gift box on top of the car of John Robles, a man he had briefly fought with at a bar several years before. Robles didn't use his car that morning. It was Parvona, his wife, who went outside and picked up the package from the roof of the car, causing it to explode. The impact shook the house where Robles and their 2 daughters were watching cartoons. Parvona would suffer serious injuries that would trouble her throughout her life. He told investigators that if Robles hadn't started trouble in the first place, this wouldn't have happened. He stated that he had also been convicted of assault with a deadly weapon for shooting an arrow at a man in Guerneville in 2009, but Gallon's destructive behavior wouldn't stop there. Investigators would also find disturbing reports from Sonoma County Animal Control, where he was accused of animal cruelty for harpooning a seal on the coast, shooting a calf, and would also claim to have killed his brother's dog. But even with all these admissions, no one expected the confession that Gallon offered next. He would go on to state that the night of the Jenner Beach murders, he had been drinking heavily and was tormented by voices and demons. That night, Gallon would admit he carried a flashlight down the bluff to the beach, saw the couple was asleep, and went back to his car for the gun. Gallon told detectives he blamed the couple for their deaths, stating they were sleeping on a beach despite a sign barring camping. That's when I snapped. I was like, oh my God, I'm just going to start killing people, Gallon told Sonoma County Sheriff's detectives. Gallon shot Jason first. The sound of gunfire startled Lindsay awake, and she sat up, looked at Jason, and made a sound before Gallon shot her too. Gallon told investigators that when he was done, he picked up the spent shell casings, decided against digging the bullets out of the young couple's bodies, and just drove away. Gallon's father, David, would also end his own life in 2013. Sometime before his death, he confronted his son with a flyer seeking information about the murder weapon used in the Jenner Beach slayings. Gallon claimed he didn't confess to his father, but believed that his father's suspicion might have been a factor in his death. I'm sure it didn't help. It might have been directly why he did it, Gallon said. In court, Gallen's attorney would claim he had mental health issues that stemmed from a large dose of LSD that he took in 2001. The drug experience halted what Gallen thought would be the start of his adult life, moving to Oregon and starting a family. But he added, one day this guy comes up and gives us a bottle of acid, and then everything like exploded. I went crazy. After this incident, he moved back in with his family. Multiple psychologists over the years have described Sean Gallen as paranoid with schizotypal personality disorder, which often develops in early adulthood and involves antisocial behavior, paranoid thinking, and occasional psychosis. The reasons Gallen gave to detectives for the killings and bombing are both detailed and detached, lacking any compassion for the people that he hurt. They concluded that he was a narcissist without remorse, noting the vulnerability of his victims and stating they were nothing more than prey. Finally, Gallen would lead detectives to the only existing evidence to tie him to Jason and Lindsay's senseless murders. Deep in a blackberry thicket on the side of the road in Guerneville, investigators found an open soda can containing spent rifle casings, which were linked to their murder. After pleading no contest to the murders of Jason Allen, Lindsay Cutshall, and Seamus Gallen, a judge sentenced Sean Michael Gallen to 3 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole, as well as another 94 years for the other series of crimes he confessed to. The judge stated that it was crystal clear to the court that Gallen needed to spend the rest of his life in prison. Many people would address the court and remember their lost family members fondly. His mother, Susan, who was in the house when he killed his brother Seamus, was said to have so much trauma from the event that she could not make it to court. John Robles, the intended target of the makeshift grenade bomb in 2004, expressed his condolences to the victims' families and called Gallen cowardly. "This is the most freedom you're ever going to see again," Robles said to Gallen as he sat in court. Chris Cutshall, Lindsay's father, read a letter from Jason Allen's family in Michigan. "Sean Gallen broke our hearts beyond description. Our family changed forever that horrible night. A huge part of us was gone." All of the family members said they harbored no hatred for Gallen because their faith allowed them to let those feelings go, though they would never live without grieving the loss of their children. Lindsay Cutshall's mother, Kathy, brought the dress her daughter was supposed to wear on her wedding day. It was a delicate, gauzy, white gown with pink flowers that glittered with beads. She said that she mourned for Gallen's mother because, in one senseless act, he took 2 sons away. But mostly, she spoke of Lindsay, recalling her sweet voice and devout faith. They had a future. They had a future in ministry. They had a future in their marriage. They had a future with us, my grandchildren, she said, holding back tears. The emptiness of this dress is what I wanted to show. Case cracked. Man, those statements from the family, especially that one from her mother, just really hits hard with me. I think she stated it perfectly. You know, there's supposed to be a person that dress is for. There's supposed to be a life. There's supposed to be all these other things that would have come from that, including these were people that were very into their faith, were likely to be contributing members of society, there to help others, and this world is not a better place for losing them. And on top of that, we have this guy, which there's something about this story that is sticking with me that I can't quite get over, and that's the diagnosis. I don't know. There's something about the diagnosis where I'm wondering, not that he shouldn't be held accountable. He absolutely should be held accountable. But if he is struggling with severe mental disorders, shouldn't he maybe be in a different type of facility? I still think likely for the rest of his life. And I just don't know that that's what happened in this particular case. You know, we had several doctors. Sounds like they had pretty much a clinical diagnosis. I don't know if the LSD thing is really the start of those problems or if it's really just an indicator of those problems already starting to take hold. Certainly a lot of questions around that. I'm not a psychologist, but just in terms of what happens in courtrooms and the law and how to truly help these people. I mean, leaving him locked up in a box for the rest of his life to supposedly think about this. Do you really think that he's going to come to any other conclusion? I mean, the professionals are noting he's completely detached from what he had actually done here. He doesn't have remorse for these crimes. So does it help society to have him locked up? Yes, absolutely. Does it necessarily teach him a lesson about what he had done? I don't know. And that's where maybe if there was a different type of facility or some other type of treatment, and he might be in some type of program, maybe I'm just not aware of it. But if there's some way that they could bring him to some level of understanding about what he has done to others, not just the victims, but the family of these victims, would that be more appropriate? That's a little question I just want to put to you guys. But then you also have to wonder, I mean, this isn't him going completely crazy. There's a lot of premeditation in the actions that went on here. You know, he went to the beach. He saw that they were there. He made up in his mind at that point that he was going to act on that, went all the way back to his vehicle, got the weapon, went all the way back to, I mean, there's a lot of time that's passing there. He commits the crime, then does do some crime scene cleanup. He removes the shells. He even considers doing more by removing the bullets, which, think about that. We know how this investigation went. If he would have done that and actually removed the bullets, one of the main indicators that the police had to at least go through the town and ask about this particular weapon and to maybe start zeroing in on someone like him would have been gone. So there's a lot of thought that's actually going into this, and I'm even wondering about some of the analysis that came from the psychologist in this case. Maybe is he just clever and he's kind of playing into what he thinks will get him a clinical diagnosis? I don't know. And then on top of that, we've got the animal deaths. Which, by the way, there was one that was even more bizarre we didn't include in the story. When they searched his house at one point, they found all kinds of different animal remains in the house in 2004, including a shark carcass. He somehow killed a shark also and decided he wanted to keep parts of these animals all over his home. Yeah, just a lot going on to this story, and a lot for us to talk about in the comments below. So let's go ahead and do that. Before I end today's video, I have to thank several donors through PayPal. If you want to do the same, you can do it over at www.lordandarts.com. I've got a link for PayPal or Patreon in the upper right-hand corner. Of course, there's the Lord and Art store. Anything you buy will help keep me here. Case Cracked in particular, actually, a lot of the videos are getting demonetized. It's weird because now YouTube is demonetizing them, and in many cases I'm able to get them to reverse that, but it's taking several days, and by the time they reverse it, most of the views have already hit on the video, so it's really not a good system. And I don't know why for Case Cracked, they're really hitting us harder than the other shows for some reason, but it doesn't help because their monetization process is so slow that basically, I just want to thank you guys, because without your help, I wouldn't be here doing this. So for PayPal donations, Rita Maria Wanninger, thank you again, Rita. Really appreciate that. Randy Vocal, hey, Randy, thank you. Emma Rostron, I hope it's Rostron or Rostron. Thank you, Emma. Jennifer Wilson, once again, contributing. Thank you, Jennifer. And finally, Lenice Bland with a substantial contribution. Thank you very much, Lenice. I really, really appreciate that. That's it for the episode. Take care, everyone. I'll see you back here on Wednesday with a brand new episode of Searchlight on the Lord and Arts channel.